swing and a high pop fly. That's in the air. It's got a chance. And off the scoreboard, Gian Fernandez walks it off for the Highlanders.
And I'm joined by the first base coach and alumni of the Woodlands class of 2004, David Macias. David, thanks for joining us here today. 2004, you graduated from the Woodlands and started your freshman career at Vanderbilt. Kind of what's life been like since you left the Woodlands on this baseball journey?
Yeah, well, it's thanks for having me. First of all, I appreciate it. Glad to be on the show. So you think back to freshman year at college, it's hard to believe it's been, almost 20 years since then. So, a lot has happened in 20 years. Had an amazing, college 4 years at Vanderbilt, playing for Tim Corbin and, with the best teammates I could ever have and, long friendships that I have with those guys. And then, played a little bit of minor league ball and then kind of got in the coaching ranks. And then since the coaching ranks, I've just kind of done a lot of different things in baseball, which I'm fortunate for, and kind of led me to now, going to my fourth year as the first base coach of the Padres. So it's been a long journey, but it's been a fun one, and and I'm grateful for that.
So I'm trying to remember when you left the Woodlands and went to Vanderbilt. Was that Corbin's first year? Were you guys like the first class that he recruited? That was you and Shea Robin, correct?
That's
that went
right.
Up there.
So Shea and I were the same graduating year, and we came into Vanderbilt together, and then ended up playing 4 years and graduating together. So as far as Corbin's first year, his first season, I believe would have been 2003. 3 or 4, so Shea and I came into his second or third season at Vanderbilt. So it wasn't his first class, but I think we might have been the second or third class. Actually, it was his third class, because I think 03 was his first year, and they did an amazing thing, making it to the tournament, and then the next year I think they went to the Super Regionals, and then my freshman year. So Shea and I were in his third year at Vanderbilt.
And so just to kind of catch everybody up on, so what we're going to have people probably watch this that aren't in the Woodlands. And so just to kind of, I'm baseball nostalgia, right? I kind of look back and reflect, and I look at, we met and you were playing for the Banditos, right? So we'll go flashback. I think you were an 8th grader. I had met Ray, and if I'm not mistaken, that was the first Banditos team, right? That was you and Shea and Dotson and Lehman. Yeah, Amendola was on that team.
Yeah, we were the first Banditos team, and according to Ray, and I was probably the first Bandito. The way he found, I think we ran into each other at Orwell one day when I was finishing up my last year of Little League, and asked if I'd want to play on the team. So, yeah. I
mean, I just look and naming those names, right? You and Shea go to Vanderbilt. Dotson and Lehman go to Rice. Amendola, of course, probably could have played baseball anywhere. I to this day will argue that he's one of the best high school shortstops, athletes, utility players I've ever seen play the game. And then, of course, he made the right decision and goes on and plays football, and even showed us that he can dance a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Right. But you look at that group, and I know there's a few off that team that I'm missing, what you guys have gone on to accomplish. And when you look back at that, I mean, how do you kind of see all that as you guys progressed and everybody's kind of gone their own ways? And we'll kind of get into where everybody is. Some of those guys today, of course, you're coaching, and mentioned Danny. and the career he had in layman as well. But just kind of when you look back at that, how do you kind of see that as you guys grew up together and what you're doing today?
Yeah, it really is special. I think, just kind of like what you were talking about with Dotson and Lehman, obviously Danny, but then even the people that, that didn't go on to do professional baseball or football, but like John Hopkins, he went to be an Ivy League standout cornerback at Harvard, and then Matt.
Yeah, I knew I was forgetting somebody.
Yeah, Matt Guina is just going to play ball at Air Force, but now is flies fighter jets. It's like if we didn't do anything in sports, they certainly excelled in other areas, and it's pretty neat to think that a group like that really had just played together so long. Ever since we were, probably 11, 12 years old, and playing just a bunch of different sports. I remember when I met Danny Amendola for the first time. We were jumping bikes at the Cove. There was this cool place where we had these big old bike jumps, and that's where I first met Danny. We were probably 10 years old, and we had recognized each other because we both played football. We played SCFL, but just it's kind of cool to think back. How it all started and, where it got to. And Sean Glennon's another one. He's one of my best friends, and he, not many people know about him, but he was the quarterback in 7th and 8th grade at Knox. And then he ends up moving away. He moved to Virginia and becomes quarterback at Virginia Tech. Obviously, his brother was quarterback in the NFL, but like that was another one, that people probably don't talk about because he wasn't around in high school. Yeah,
because he moved away.
But
that was because I was teaching at that time, and my first gig was at Knox.
Yeah.
And
so
it's there's one of those things, and this is coming right from the scouting world. And, you're in that world. We're in that world. You still kind of are as a coach. You're still looking at talent. Is one of the first things they taught us was you walk to the ballpark. That guy typically stands out. Mm-hmm. You can see kids now. They all don't pan out, right? But you see a kid that's a 7th grader, 8th grader that can do the things that a lot of you guys were doing, and you're just like, wow. The potential is there for that kid to just be something special. And I heard a lot about him as when I was first coaching, what he was doing at McCullough. Because that was the time where Knox was just, you were at McCullough, an 8th grader. I was at Knox. It was a 7th grade campus. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the size of the high school, right? Because it was the population had boomed and the other high school hadn't opened yet. Knox was just 1,500 7th graders. Right. At that campus. I think McCullough was 8th and 9th grade at that time, and then you went on to the main campus. But you'd hear the coaches talking about that kid, that quarterback kid. Kid's got something. Mm-hmm. And to see, I look at and you see, you follow your social media and you see that you guys still like those guys come out and support you, and when you're out and you just see. I look at that from a different perspective. People are like, "Oh wow, he's with his friends." I'm like, "Oh wow, he's got dudes from 20 some odd years ago coming out to still support him, and that's awesome." And then what those guys have accomplished themselves, and to see that and to see you guys' success, to sit back and watch that, it's been fun. I mean, for me, and I know for a lot of the community, to see you guys out there succeeding, and you come back, and I believe Lehman still lives here. He lives a couple blocks away from me. I just ran into him in the grocery store the other day, and how that all it's just fascinating to watch, and to cheers to you and those guys and your success and what you've accomplished. And you went back to Vanderbilt, right? So you graduated. Mm-hmm. You're drafted by the Cubs.
That's right.
Yep. You're in the Cubs system, and how did minor league ball? Once you got out of Vanderbilt, how did that go? And then how did that kind of carve a path for you into where you are now, like the coaching? Because I know you came back to Vanderbilt, and you were there for the championship team.
Yep. So the minor league ball, I think that was, everyone's got different experiences in minor league ball because it is such a unique world, right? You play baseball every day, but yet you don't make any money, So, but I always thought of my minor league experience as like a really, special time in my life, and because of the relationships, I think culturally, I think was really a eye-opening experience for me. Being a Latino, and mom's from Mexico, dad's from Venezuela, like I could fit in pretty good with those guys. But like just kind of learning about how they grew up was a great experience for me. I think that's certainly helped me now, even more so developing relationships with Latin players. But I think the foundation that that I learned from a young age, playing for you guys, Coach Eastman, Ray DeLeon, and then really kind of putting it to test with Tim Corbin. I had a really good foundation of hard work and routines and all that. And I think going into pro ball, I think that really set me up to, people noticed, farm directors noticed, coaches noticed, and I think all those experiences have allowed me to kind of keep doing this, and now being the first base coach of the Padres. But it was a great experience. I got to learn a lot, meet a lot of good people, and it's great. It's great to just be able to talk about playing in Iowa and all these Midwest cities and Boise. That that league doesn't even exist anymore. But it was a great experience. Even though I had to ask money for my parents all the time and my brothers, and sleeping on couches and whatnot. But it certainly was worth the experience.
Yeah, and so fact, fiction, bus rides.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So all the above.
The long
right?
bus rides, your $10 per diem.
Right.
The Waffle House. How many Waffle Houses were you in?
Oh yeah, too many to count, and the PB&J is just that's a staple every day, right?
Yeah, I mean, what much of a difference? Well, probably a downgrade from college, because at the Division I level, you're traveling high class, or they are now.
That's certainly the case for sure. It can be a downgrade for a lot of people, but as of I want to say the last 5 years or so, they've really made it a point to make situations better for minor league players, which I think is good.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed the articles about the clubhouses and the travel,
right. And the pay sounds like, which is great. Because I think it really. You think about having opportunities to play at the highest level. A big part of that is having the financial component to be able to do it as long as you want, and to be able to train, and to be able to be in an environment where you can get better. A lot of that is. I was fortunate to be in the off seasons and go to TSMC with Dennis Fay and Joe. I mean, those guys are the best. But they had to help me out. I didn't have enough money to pay for that, but
that's the Tomball Sports Group.
Yeah,
is that right? Yeah.
But then I said, hey man, I'll do whatever you need. I'll catch all your bullpens, and so it started off like that. I'd catch bullpens, and they allow me to work out and train there. So it really takes a village, just like anything else. It takes people around you to help you accomplish the things that you want. It's really hard to kind of just do it on your own sometimes. It really takes a village, and I've been fortunate to have a lot of people in my corner, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, that means a lot. You're out there, you're on your own,
right?
And like you brought up some of those towns like Boise. I mean, not much out there, and you're playing ball and day to day and getting by and trying to, you're staying focused. You're on the bus, late nights, early mornings, and like you said, the pay and the grind. that it takes to get there. You got to respect the grind to get there.
That's right.
So when you were coming up through the minors with the Cubs, was there anybody that came up through the system for you, a big name that made it up to the big league club?
Yeah, there was a number of guys, but I guess one of the big ones, one of my best friends too was my roommate in college, Ryan Flaherty. We both got drafted by the Cubs together. We played a couple of years together. He ended up getting picked up in the Rule 5 and ended up going to the Orioles, and that's where he played most of his major league career. But that was one of them. But the Cubs system at that time was very deep. There was a lot of really talented players, from like Robinson Chirinos, so many. Blake Lally is now third base coach for the Marlins. Jim Adduci, just so many really good players. We had a good system, and then. I think that's probably enticed Theo to come to Chicago because I think he was able to make some big trades and get some big free agents, and then he wins a World Series with them. So
and then the guys that came up through the system, right? Chris Bryant.
That's right. Yeah.
And
so he was just a bit after me, but yeah,
Schwarber. Schwarber was
well.
homegrown,
That's
right? Yeah.
That's right. So, but yeah, the Cubs. Just a lot of good people, and it's really neat to kind of see those people now. Just see them. Whatever it is that they're doing, it's just they were all they were wired, similar to me. They worked really hard, and they've succeeded at the highest level, which is cool to see.
Yeah, I got beat up a lot for. When the Cubs won that series, that championship that year, I was like, hey, that's good for baseball.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, they broke the curse. They got a ring. Oh, man, I put that stuff out.
Yeah.
All the folks from back home are like, oh, I'm St. Louis. You're a traitor.
Sure.
Cubs. I'm like,
right.
Hey, don't get married to your ideas. It's, look at baseball as a whole.
Yeah.
It was good and when the Red Sox came back and did what they did in 2004, they beat the Cardinals. But when you saw them walk off the field, they swept us that season, and it kind of stunk to lose, but it's good. It's good for the game to see that.
That's right.
These cities, these organizations, it's good for their town, their cities, the communities, versus seeing just one team up there winning 10 in a row every season.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on. I think it's just great for baseball, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
So what's it like working for Schildt?
Schildt is he is really good, man. He's he kind of reminds me of a Tim Corbin. If there's as close to a coach in college at the major league level, I'd say it's probably Mike Schildt as far as his vision, his ability to kind of create identities within a team, whether it be base running, offense, defense, pitching. He's got a high standard, which is great. He really he makes us all better, and he did an amazing job last year, kind of bringing this group close together to feel something special. Like losing at the end there with the Dodgers, as tough as it was, I think we realized how special that group was and how close we got. And Mike Schildt was a big part of that.
Yeah, you could tell from watching on TV. You could tell there was something going on there.
Yeah.
I saw it and was like, oh man, you see the magic kind of coming together, the group coming together. They're going to pull this off. And I mean, you were asking before we jumped on about Schildt. I got to shake his hand. I looked up to him. I'd heard his name through the organization, and I'd heard what he was doing and the strides that he was making. And then the guy that was my direct supervisor at the time was doing the same thing. And what they had done was so it's Joe Alvarez was my direct supervisor, and he was the cross checker scout. And what he was doing was he had a hybrid job, and he was Joe had coached I believe Grayson or Hill Junior College, and being from the Latino background, bilingual, he also did some international. He dabbed in that, and they had sent him to the academies, and so he was doing instruction. Then he would come back and scout. Then eventually, what they had done is they put him in the Appy League, and he was the manager of the Johnson City Cardinals. And he had come over from the Orioles, and he was doing the same thing for, I believe it was Aberdeen in the Appalachian League there. And so he was scouting, and then he would check out basically right around the draft and go to extended spring training, get with his guys, and then they would head to Johnson City. Well, he had done that for 4 or 5 years. His son was in high school in San Antonio, so there were some things that were he wanted to see more of his son. And that they were doing a handoff of Joe's responsibilities to Mike, and I think that was 2008, 2009. Is because Mike, I believe he was scouting and he was coaching Batavia. I don't know if he got to run in with Carpenter, because that's where we put Carpenter at that time. So I don't know if he was before or after Matt Carpenter. And he was in Memphis. We were doing our draft meetings, and he was meeting with Luno and Joe. And I saw him from a distance. I got to shake his hand and say hi. That was kind of about the extent of it. I saw him kind of parading through we went down to the locker room with the clubhouse AAA squad, and he was in there. I think he had known some of those guys. And I just really looked up to him and what he had accomplished, because we were kind of on the same path. And, things happen for a reason. And my path came to an end in that world. And a lot of it was, at the time, I didn't see it. You see things happen for a reason. And at the time, you're just kind of like, I don't know if this is the best thing. Well, my daughter was born. And I was able to I went to a different field, and I was able to spend more time at home, have more time with her. And then my son comes along, and my daughter's taken to baseball. She's a Diamond Darling for the Highlanders.
Cool. Yeah.
So she's involved, and then I'm doing the broadcasting for the high school team. And so the baseball's still there. It's fun. I work with a few kids around here, and you see that board right on the dugout that has you and Danny and Goldie, Jameson, Eibner. They got Amendola on there with the football jersey. It's really neat to look back at that over the 20 years that we opened with, and see, man, what you guys have done, and the players that have come through that program, and what Coach Eastman has done, and it's to him as well. Some kudos to him for. He still does he does all those things that he did with you guys, turning boys into men, and the Highlander way, and the way to do things. And you can see that carries on. And then we had Drew Romo break through this season, his big league debut. So, and he got to add his name to the board a couple of weeks ago. And it's really neat to see what comes out of this program, how you guys go on, and how you succeed. And so, kind of last thing we'll kind of dive into real quick, and what was, speaking of all you guys and what you've accomplished, what was that feeling like in the NLCS? Right, we'll kind of set the stage. You're on one side, Lehman's on the other side. You guys have known each other since you were 12, 11. You go on to Vanderbilt, he goes to Rice. You both go through the minor leagues, and here you are. You're both coaching, squaring off in the NLCS. You can call me a big geek. I thought it was cool. And the odds of that happening ever again. Two guys, same class, same high school, coaching against one another. The feelings of all that, how that all
Yeah, I mean, obviously special, special in itself to be able to make it to an NLCS, which was really amazing, but then you think about, I'm standing in that coach's box and I look over and, we always kind of, catch each other throughout the game. We kind of just, laugh or do something funny, but you kind of pinch yourself a little bit to reflect back, where it started, and then how it gets to that point. It's special. It really is.
And that's kind of, I've always, I guess my love for baseball is just what you said, the history. Mm-hmm. Right? You go back, the game hasn't changed the way the game is played. Right? The positions, the players, you still got to hit a ball, you still got to throw a ball, you got to catch a ball.
Right.
The fundamentals are there. And kind of speaking of Schildt, right? He was a big fundamental guy, and the Cardinal way, what he did, and everything that he instilled. That's one of the reasons I looked up to him. And I look up to you guys and what you guys have done and your success. And I think my wife was getting a little sick of me going, "Hey man, David's got some camera time." David's got some camera time. Oh, there's Danny. He's in the dugout. And I'm sitting here thinking what I would be doing. I'd probably have sunflower seeds up on the top of the dugout, and I'd be flipping them over at you at first base, just messing with you and having a good time. Because that's what it's all about. It's a game, right? It's a game meant for kids, and you're still in it at the point that you are, and the guys that are still coaching in their 50s and 60s. It's a game for kids. They're still there, and that's really neat. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, it is just a game, and then we got to constantly, I think even more so now, remind ourselves of that, because there is a lot of noise, right? There's a lot of, there's just a lot more advancements in this game, whether it be social media, whether it be, personal coaches, all that stuff's great, if you know how to use it right, but sometimes we can get lost, right? And if we remind ourselves that this is a game, it's meant to be fun. I think it's a calibration we need to constantly be doing, I think. Yeah,
and you mentioned social media. It's a great to have, and things come with it as well. And players are accessible. If you got an account, they're accessible to anybody, and there's the good and the bad with that as well.
That's right.
Last question. Wrap things up. And you guys, the Padres, have got probably two of the most electric players in the game today. What's it like, Tatis and Machado? What's it like to be around those guys? Basically, you're around them 24/7 during the season. What we see from a distance, like Tatis has this energy, Machado, and then the whole thing last year, I watched that when he rolled the ball to the dugout, I was like, why is everybody so mad?
Right.
Some of that, I guess, his energy with that. But those guys are great to watch, to play. I mean, young players in the game like that, and you're around that all the time. What's that like?
Yeah, it's really, again, it's another one of those things where I got to pinch myself. I get to see these guys every day. I will say with both those guys, now that I've seen them for 3 to 4 years, they continue to impress me. That's like the level of talent that they both have. Manny, just his ability to kind of do what he does at the plate, just see him adjust and, just sell out to certain pitches and then hit a huge home run, and then on the defensive side, just he's his spatial awareness and his ability to spin and throw, and it leads into kind of everything, even on the bases. The guy is super smart and super instinctual, but he just impresses me. And if you really know him, if you really get to spend time with him, he's probably one of the nicest people you'd meet. In this game, he's amazing with the fans. He's so well respected throughout the league. He's just a special player. I think he's a great ambassador for this game. So he's been a special talent, and then obviously Tatis really kind of the same thing. Like, and Tatis coming off of some injuries. He came off of shoulder injury in the past, now leg injury. Like I didn't get a chance to see him when he first came up in like 19 and 20. I just remember watching highlights of him. But now that he's, I think, going to be healthy, I'm just excited to see that. And we've always seen that in the last 2 years as well. He's been very electric, a very electric type player. But again, like Manny, super smart. Just knows the game. When he speaks up, like, you want to listen, right? Because this guy's seen a lot. He obviously grew up in it. And again, a little bit more on the quieter side of as far as compared to Manny, but like again, the nicest guy ever, but super excited to see them just continue to lead this team and but special talents both on and off the field, so yeah, pretty lucky to be able to see those guys.
Well, you got to tell him he's got to one up his old man.
That's right.
We got to get 3 grand slams.
That's right.
And one.
That's right. The 2. Was that with St. Louis?
Yeah, I was.
It was in LA,
I think I was student teaching when that happened, and I was watching it live because it was in LA on the West Coast, and I was grading papers late at night, and I was like, okay, grand slam. They're going around the lineup. Bases loaded. Yeah. He's up again. I was like, no way. He's going to do that again.
Yeah.
He did. It's like, and you hear it all the time. When you guys were in the NLCS, I can't tell how many times they brought that because that's the only time it's ever happened.
Right.
I think they mentioned that thing 10 times throughout the series.
Yeah. Well, if there's a guy to do it, it's probably gonna be him.
Yeah, or Machado. They can take my dad's record.
That's right.
That's amazing.
Right. Yeah.
Well, David, I know you got stuff you got to do. I know spring training's around the corner. We really appreciate your time joining us today. So, David Macias, first base coach, San Diego Padres. When's everything get started for you, David?
So we have pitchers and catchers February 12th, so next week, and then full camp will be the 17th.
And you start on the 12th, right? You come with everybody else, or you guys are already going, right?
Yeah, because we'll have catchers involved, so I do the base running, so we'll have plans for those guys. Yeah, we'll be rocking and rolling. Probably Monday next week, or meetings and talking about players and the roster. So yeah.
All right, well, Dave, thanks. Appreciate your time. Everything you do and your successes that you guys have gone on. Like I said, that team, that group of kids from the 04 is just a special group of kids. And thanks for joining us here today and taking the time out. Talk a little baseball with us here on the WalkOff.
Yeah, Jason, I really appreciate your time, man. I really enjoyed it, and maybe we'll do it again here soon.
All right. Thanks, Dave. Take care. Best of luck this season. Hope to see you guys in the World Series this year.
Thank you. Yeah, me too, Jason. I appreciate it, man.
All right.
All right. Take care.